Welcome back, everyone, to Worlds 2021, where it's time for Cloud9 versus PCE. After a very strong showing from Hanwha Life, we are now on the precipice of the final battle of play-ins. It's all over after this, the play-ins, between Cloud9 and PCE. Now, while the NA third seed started off the tournament with some real strength, showing different looks, they did struggle on day 3. And in this neighborhood tactics presented by State Farm, Goldberg is looking at some of the mistakes they need to clean up to make it to groups and to perform well in groups. What are you going to show us?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people has been questioning Cloud9 as a team sometimes because they seem like a team with different ideas and they're not always on the same page. So what I want to show here is one of these examples, so as of you out there, you know exactly how you identify these situations. And to set the tone here for the game, it's in a point where the game state is fairly even, but Detonation Focus Me is winning all the team fights, but Cloud9, they have an Infernal Soul already, and they're starting to set up around the Elder Drake. But we're going to see how they fall apart while still having a good setup. So as we roll out the clip, you can actually see that Cloud9 is first in the play. They have all the vision. There's actually nothing that Detonation Focus Me see right here. And I'm gonna pause the clip because then you can see there's only a few ways that Detonation Focus Me actually gets access coming into this into this Drake pit. And it's because that you need to cross these small chokeholds. You're playing into a Jace, you're playing into a Zoe, you're playing into a Misfortune, and it's super tough for you to deal with this. So all Cloud9 has to do in this instance is they need to play it slow, they need to play it extended, and they need to not opt in for an engage. But the problem arises in this specific scenario where all of a sudden they are split up because they are coming in from the chokehold. And you can already see there's some good damage that Fudge has already been able to do. There's a good make it rain possibility here from the side of Zven, and Perkz, he's completely disjointed for the team. He's down towards the left, and he's actually leaving them. So as we cue the clip here, as we already talked about, you want to play it extended. But Vulcan, he dives in immediately, and that completely disrupts the game plan here for Cloud9 because you had to play it slow, you had to play it as a team, kite back. You didn't do that, you opted in for the team fight immediately, and you get caught with Perkz on the other side, with Misfortune down towards the bottom, and nothing you can really do to clean up the fight.
Yeah, hard engage is the death of a poke comp, right? And what is actually really tricky here as well is that you see that Leona actually misses the E. So if DFM would have just had a chance to do it by themselves, they may have not pulled off the perfect engage. But Vulcan unfortunately made that slight misstep, and Cloud9 really didn't play to their win conditions in their team composition, right? And I feel like that is something that is easily looked at and reviewed when you come into this best of 5.
Yeah, because the thing is, they do such a nice job to get to this point, but when you can't finish out and close out on the final moments, that's when we start to have these questions. That's how Detonation Focus Me really gets it going. And it's also, with the Amumu pick that has been highly debated on play-in so far, it's not necessarily the champion. Quite often, it's the player who plays the champion that opts in for a play where you really don't need to.
Thank you for breaking that down, something we don't want to see, but there's a lot of good in Cloud9 as well. We'll talk about that after the break, after we preview the match more in depth. First, though, we're listening in on the comms from the LCO champions. All-important win against the Red Canids in our Sounds of the Game, presented by Bose.
I don't know, I think we have to hard trade.
I'm running bot, James. I'm running bot, James.
Okay,
We can win this together. I'm shooting James.
Win it, Zach.
Win it, Zach. Win it!
I'm running bot as well.
I'm here, mate. I'm here, mate. Come here, mate!
Focus snake.
Let's go! Kill them!
Yeah, I'm going over the wall. I'm going over the wall. Chase. You guys chase?
Yeah.
I kill Lee.
I'll get the wave, I guess. It's fine.
Oh, oh, man, what happened there, buddy?
I got the...
I need help. I have so much. Can you guys help?
Coming.
No way.
Go.
I kill this guy. Is there flash? There's no flash.
You want to TP here, James?
Oh
My God, that was a naked.
Hey,
I killed it. My kill. That's my kill.
Come top.
My kill.
Go top. Going forward, Vizicsacsi. 4 seconds for some.
Yeah, and again.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let me kill Zhao. I gotta kill him.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk, where this is the final showdown between Cloud9 and Peace that separates both teams for the final spot in the group stage. And much like an MSI or LCO representatives, they are looking for the upset. I'm super happy to be joined by Ryze because we covered kind of what went wrong for Cloud9 on day 3 of the Telestrator Ryze. But I mean, there's a lot to celebrate from this team. What do you want to see today for them to make it to the group stage?
What they're able to accomplish in the first 2 days of the play-in stage. The first 2 days were great for them. I really enjoyed what they were able to accomplish through Blaber and Perkz, 100%. And they dominated a lot in how they played their team fights out. And you're right, Goldberg. In day 3, when they went up against Unicorns of Love and Detonation Focus Me, a lot of times they made the games harder for themselves. They had a huge lead when they were going up against Detonation Focus Me, and they ended up losing it through that pivotal fight through mid lane when they ended up fighting for Soul. So things like these, they've reviewed in the day that they had off, and I think they're going to look better for it.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9 really do have to be the favorite here, but when we look at kind of the way their year has gone, we remember what happened at MSI. So their year would be pretty much in shambles if they don't manage to win this best of 5. But they've got a lot of cards to play here, Ryze. Break it down for me. What are the strategies here that you want to see from Cloud9? Which strengths are you expecting to be shown today?
For me, it's going to be through the jungle. It's actually interesting because they're going to be going up against Babip, that is a carry player himself. And so I think Blaber, MVP at one point in the LCS, going to be coming in, looking stronger and stronger as time comes on, and now, working alongside Perkz. They're a playmaking team. And so with the replays that you've been seeing, Honest Talia working through bot lane, this is what I would love to see from this team.
And I think that's going to make today so exciting, at least for the early stages of the game, because we've already seen what it means for Peace if they can get an early lead, funnily enough, in the early game. But at the same time, when Blaber and Perkz shows up as this jungle duo, they get to have a lot of influence on the map. Not historically in LCS, but what we saw in the first 2 days of play-ins that Ryze is so highly praising them for, because at their best, they are looking really good.
Definitely so. And for Peace, of course, as we talk about the overarching story for Cloud9, for this story of the region, right, who started off as the LCO this year because they had to, then made it to MSI by group stage, rather, with Pentanet, and then now being at the precipice of maybe doing it again. But now it's not a best of 1, Ryze. Now it is a best of 5, but I'm not going to count Peace out yet before I've seen them play.
And you shouldn't, because they're looking better and better. Remember, they were 5th seed. They were the lowest seed when they went into the playoffs in the LCO. They got stronger. They took out the teams like you mentioned, Pentanet. And then they went on to Worlds, and they changed their style and looked stronger when they ended up bringing in Vizicsacsi in as well. Remember, this wasn't the lineup that they had for the full year. And so coming in, looking weak initially in the first few games, and then now, if you look at this team and analyze it, Vizicsacsi is looking like a strong point for this team. Violet and Aladoric have really had an amazing series. Just yesterday we were watching them, so do not underestimate them. Their team fighting is damn good, and everybody got the opportunity to listen into their comms and having damn fun while doing it.
Yes, they are. And Perkz also said it in the video. He said, we're not going to underestimate them. We're not going to make that mistake. But as you mentioned, Chachi and the roster issues, not just that top lane situation, the whole split was a mess in terms of roster moves and who they needed to field, right? I think now for the first time, they get a lot of time with the same roster, and they played a whole as best of 5 yesterday.
That was the funny thing about the LCO, because they had so many roster swaps, but they did not have the swap in the top lane. So they finally got to just, roster swap everything before they finally got to play into it. And I think what the LCO has been doing so well here, or rather what Peace have been showing well, is that when they actually get going, they have good timings with their laners to actually play around towards the side lane. Remember, Tali was a top laner that was swapped into the mid lane, and he has a funny champion pool together with all these Bruiser. He's got the Silas and then the Roamers, and it really puts him in a good position when he gets ahead in terms of getting his teammates further ahead with a gold lead.
And here's the thing, like that roster changes that they had during the split, a lot of that came into the fact that these players became available because they came back from North America. Babip, who was originally on TSM Academy, came back to Oceania, and he was a damn strong jungler when he was originally playing in the OPL. So like they were happy to have him back challenging for the position. And then Tali, of course, a great addition in how he's able to really motivate the team in team fights. He's a veteran, so even though he is swapping from top to mid, you're right. I don't think you should be underestimating him at all. So I actually expect this team to take a game. Remember, historically, for Cloud9, the last time they were at Worlds play-ins in a best-of-5, they were forced to 5 games up against Gambit. So surprising things can happen here.
They definitely can, but I think we agree that the favorites have to be Cloud9. This is our featured matchup
1000%.
presented by Mercedes-Benz. Of course, Perkz versus Tally. Also, we didn't even have time to talk about it, but Fudge in that top lane now versus his ex-region. I mean, there's a lot going into this one. I hope we get a great best-of-5, and the time has come to see if Peace can continue this new era for Oceania, or if Cloud9 will make their 7th appearance at the group stage. Let's join our casters, Pastry Time and Marks, to find out.
This is going to be a banger, Moxie. You know what? It just feels like every year, no matter what the circumstances are, we find ourselves here.
Just can't make it easy. Cloud9 doing the NA tradition, making sure that we got to work for it. No one can unclench, you know? That's what it's all about.
All right. Well, of course, it's here from the desk, and I think it should be apparent here. Cloud9 are certainly the favorites coming into this matchup, but definitely expect the unexpected. We kind of already had a bit of that here. We'll see what game 1 brings us as far as draft goes.
Yeah, I like the point too as well about even the Gambit matchup from 2 years ago. There was the time where it's like, hey, it can be close, you know? So you have to not get too far ahead of yourself. And I think especially yesterday, it was a very tough battle for Peace. So Cloud9 have a lot of footage to have looked at from that game and try and figure out what it is they want to target. I am not surprised to see Peace throwing a lot of bans at Cloud9. Last time we saw, that was kind of the blueprint that DFM laid down. And I do think there are aspects of that game plan that they can copy from DFM to try and upset C9.
Yeah, these blue side bans are very targeted here. Basically picking off some of the strongest, if not the strongest picks that the Cloud9 players have shown. We're taking out Perkz as a Blanc, really off the table there for Fudge and Leona. Not just Vulcan's best support, I think most players' best support at this point. She's maybe the best support you can take, especially early on in a game. She's just so good, especially when Misfortune shows up every game.
Yeah, I think the low commitment that Leona has for engages enables you to be a little safer with it, and we've seen when people get forced onto a Moo and some of the ones that are more all-in when they choose to pick a fight, they get into some trouble. The Lucian takeaway I do like. That was something that Violet looked quite good on yesterday. They spam-picked it a lot. It went well sometimes it went poorly. I mean, them and Titan were just scrapping it out every single lane phase. It felt like there were 2v2 kills, and it looks like Cloud9 is opting into that.
Yeah, we got Lucian there to follow alongside it. Now Zhao locked in there for Peace. Ryze also going to be put on board here for Tally. Definitely a champion that's in his wheelhouse. He is mostly about roaming and leaving his lane. Like, he was a top laner for a long time, and now he's been a mid laner for a long time, which is a bit weird, but his style typically has been to link up with Babip and then go help the other lanes. He's definitely a roaming kind of player historically as a mid laner, and Ryze definitely fits the bill, even though yesterday he was mixing in things like Aatrox and lots of these more melee mids for a bit more aggressive 1v1s and 2v2s. So he has range for sure, but as far as, you know, comfy game 1 drafts go, this feels very much in the wheelhouse.
Especially with the Lilia ban that Cloud9 threw in, that was a very smart ban. Watching Babip's Lilia, it also is individually impressive, but like you're saying, with some of these melee assassin type mid laners, it kind of enables them by splitting your damage profile up. So no surprise, he's now in the Zhao. And of course, the Nami lock-in with the Lucian. Yep. Definitely a powerful duo, and we'll be able to contest that MF early on. A lot of support bans, given that they have finished off their bot lane for the Cloud9 side, getting rid of some of the more engage-focused threats, because that is one of the ways you can beat that Nami Lucian lane is, you know, don't get traded on over and over again and sustained on. Just try and kill them 100-0.
Yep, Fudge also losing 2 champions there, both Camille and Jace getting taken off the table. Syndra locked in there for Perkz. We're going to leave counterpick there for Fudge. It could, I suppose, be the Lucian, but that's pretty unlikely given what they've shown already, so this seems like a pretty straightforward first 4 picks out of Cloud9.
Yeah, no, I gotta say, I'm a little surprised at the targeted Fudge bans with your mid locked in. You would usually see people ban out the areas that they are mismatched in the draft, so that's why you saw the support bans. But for Peace, they're actually just getting rid of the Gnar counters, it feels like. Yep. They don't want to get all in over and over. The Aurelia ban, the Camille ban, even the Jace ban, stronger lane matchup there. So kind of telegraphed that one. And C9, no, I guess Peace predicted that C9 would take their mid laner blind, and so that why they weren't worried about the Gnar takeaway. Nice little bit of preparation by them.
Yeah, for sure. Last pick here, of course, is going to be Aladoric support. And we'll settle on Rakan, it looks like, here to go alongside the MF. So not quite as, you know, great combinations with their ulti, but Rakan always good. Not that great in lane, so the 2v2 could be a bit of a struggle, but we'll have to see how Aladoric can do in the mid game or roaming, right? Because Rakan's engage is obviously so good.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that this is a different look for Cloud9's bot lane in the sense that you were telling me before this that Vulcan has the highest, or I should say the lowest duo procs percent of all supports in play-ins, which is another way of saying he roams a lot. Yeah. So this is a different look when you have this taken. The Nami's going to be locked in lane. And, I mean, they're playing really aggressive because they also took the Wukong counter pick for the Gnar. You do have the ability to hop on it, but it is something that you're going to want to play around. It feels like there's a lot of lanes that are going to want attention right now.
Yeah, to kind of further that point, you know, obviously if Vulcan's leaving lane a lot, understandably, Blaber's highest jungle proximity is to his support, right? He and Vulcan are constantly linked up in these games, kind of going down the rankings. Then Fudge is the next person he pays the most attention to, then Perkz, and then understandably Zven is left right at the right in last place there, because so much of Cloud9's style seems to be defined by their pressure they put in their top side and especially their top lane, so much so that even their support ends up leaving lane a lot. So this is a departure, certainly. Obviously, Lucian Nami is a known strong 2v2. I think if you're trying to have a stable yet aggressive early game and kind of overpower your opponents because you believe yourself to be the superior players, which I think for Cloud9 is a safe bet, at least coming into this matchup, then sure, why not start off with something like this?
Yeah, and I think on the flip side for Peace, they have a very scrappy team comp. We talked about the Rakan roams already, but Ryze and Zven have a good ability to get on the map and influence these lanes to try and protect the Gnar if there's ganks coming up there. And we were talking about Babip and Blaber being 1-2 in kills and assists at 15, which means they're extremely active junglers, and both of them are going to be going toe-to-toe. They're the matchup I have my eye on the most to try and determine how the early game's going to go. We saw Chachi win some lanes, lose some lanes, same with Violet like we covered earlier, but it felt like Babip and Tally were the 1-2 punch combination that allowed Peace to actually find that win yesterday. And so right now they have two good tools to influence this game.
Yeah, we'll see how they do though, because it is game one between Cloud9 and Peace. This is for all the proverbial group stage marbles, Mark Z. Win here, win 3 games, and you give yourself the final spot in the world's group stage.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a crazy story for Oceania, just like the entire year, not just this tournament, but with the kind of collapse of the OPL, a lot of the talent being subsumed by North America, to then bounce back and within a single year rebuild, be able to go to MSI, make it over UL, who had historically been one of the top teams, make it into the actual group stage, hand C9 a devastating loss when they needed it the least. They beat C9, and now while that was with Pentanet, Peace here also making similar noise, getting out over groups, winning a best of 5 in international play after having such a difficult year is already a huge win, and now it's just like, how much further can you push it? Can you actually go back against Cloud9 and ruin their day again?
When, you know, I think the common wisdom would say no, but there's a chance. And if there's one thing that's true of this region, they're going to battle.
Yeah, I mean, they're
really going to battle.
They are scrappers.
Yeah. That's definitely a feature, not a bug, of the region, I'll tell you that much.
True.
In many walks of life, as Tally and Perkz are going to line up here in the 1v1 nice and early. Definitely cool to see Perkz back on Syndra. Again, something you can really get aggressive on. Great flash out of Zven, but Aladoric with arguably a better W to line it up, but now getting ignited. I'm starting to remember what this looks like. Zven, you're dead. That's first blood out of Violet.
Let's go. Peace's bot lane, level 1.
Level 1.
Scrapping them out. And this is the thing with the new Lucian Nami lane, is it's a pretty cooldown dependent lane. You want Lucian to get some abilities to be able to spam them out. Nami has her heal, but she really wants her buff to be able to get that insane proc with the Lucian passive that was added. And at level 1, that's when they are most susceptible to all-ins. And that wasn't even clean. You know, like, they forced the flash, which was nice, but it wasn't like the W landed by the Rakan. And they still got the kill. So this is a disaster right now for C9's bot lane. They do have a slight summoner advantage, but you can just see how well they understand, like, we don't even need to be that clean. We can kind of ignore the Nami here. And this entire time, Violet does a good job trading autos on Zven while Zven was trying to walk forward and punish Aladoric. Hold on, not done yet.
Mid lane, 1v3, Aladoric with a fat roam there. Perkz is going to die for second blood as Babip picks that one up.
God damn, their name might be Peace Pastry, but they woke up and chose violence.
You'll have to see. I mean, this is what we expected. Like, I think as far as, like, what are Peace's best chance in this matchup? But we saw this yesterday as well. Like, get aggressive in the early game. Like, you heard it from the desk. Yes, so team fighting is good, but it's way easier to team fight when you're ahead.
Yeah, and I gotta say, we were talking about the Rakan roams. I didn't think they'd be coming in level 2 necessarily, but you just killed bot lane, and you instantly spread that pressure around to mid lane. That's also flash and TP down for Perkz, so I would 100% expect a repeat gank at some point. And so C9 really have to focus on stabilizing their bot lane, get some wards out, make sure that you don't fall to a Babip gank in any of these lanes.
Oh, we're at it again. Aladoric just doesn't miss apparently, but now Zven going to turn it back around. Vulcan repays in kind with the bubble. Ignite is down. Last auto is good. Cloud9 going to get themselves on the board.
See, Zven throwing up the surrender flag. The Ram is okay. C9 showing we still got some fight in us. Don't panic quite yet. This is the thing that we saw yesterday a lot with Peace's bot lane was you just, even if they get the first kill, you know, who knows what's going to happen from there. Titan and them were trading blows back and forth, and it seems like we're going to be getting more of the same so far in this series. You know, Violet and Aladoric can absolutely make plays and find kills, but they are just as susceptible to getting 2v2 killed right back sometimes.
Yeah, and didn't cost, I mean, didn't have really summoners to burn, so it didn't cost any, of course. So getting a kill back is going to stabilize the gold difference, actually. Peace only up about 200 gold. Definitely the farm difference starting to grow a little bit there in bottom side as well. Not sure what happened. I guess Aladoric's roam probably made the reset timing a bit wonky there for Violet.
That was also into a wave. C9 were pushing a little bit right there, and so Violet dying as the wave was coming in is what's mostly resulting in that, you know, slightly more than one wave CS gap.
All right, top side I haven't seen too much, but Tachi and Fudge is probably something we'll be looking at throughout the series. Definitely not in this game, though. Much more of an agreement to kind of farm it out a little. Yes, Wukong is counter picking here, but Wukong, as we've discussed, is not really a champion that, at least in the early levels, really tries to smash you. With jungler help, especially once he has 6, it's different, but Babip once again, flashing on top of Vulcan, gets the knock up there, and that's it. Tally just going to pick up a sitter.
Man, I love it. Babip calls the flash before it even comes through. He flashes predictively knowing that Vulcan's going to go in that direction. I mean, he was cut off no matter what. There was no direction he could flash, and the play's not over now.
Yeah, 3v1 here now for Zven. No flash, does have exhaust, but he's going to have to try and get it out. Now 4v1, pretty impossible, and indeed it will be. Violet who's going to grab that kill.
Nice use of transitioning the kill from mid lane. Vulcan's death means there's no way for anyone to be bot lane. Plus, they had control of the bot side jungle, so they just naturally roam down there on the wave.
Ooh, Fudge getting aggressive, forcing a flash out of Chachi. Nice little move in the 1v1, and Blaber actually trying to complete it all up here in top lane. Needs to line up the Q, sees him there in the fog of war, gonna walk up, get the Q, force the hop, and now they can be patient. Wave's not in the best spot, but now it's a 4v1 on the cross map here out of Cloud9, and Perkz is gonna make that look easy, grabs the kill for himself.
So this is one of the saving graces for Cloud9's composition. They do have an extra point of pressure on the map, and that is in the top lane with Fudge's Wukong. The fact that they kill Chachi and, you know, Fudge forced the flash earlier means that with Fudge's flash ultimate coming available, this is a very susceptible gank to pull off, susceptible to a repeat gank, I should say. You know, the only problem is, like, can you afford to bring Blaber up there for extended periods of time while bot lane is in such a difficult position already? You have to be very careful with your timing windows, because otherwise, as you can see here, Tally knows there was no pressure on the bot side. He can camp this jungle.
Yeah, if Nami walks through the shrubbery, is indeed going to get ganked by Ryze. Also, of course, that top lane pressure does lead to an easy dragon pickup there for Peace, so nab the first dragon for themselves pretty early as well. So definitely starting off a potential quick soul there if they can grab the rest of them, of course. And Zven isolated for a little bit, but Nami going to be back down here. Definitely expecting, you know, to be more anchored to this lane, and that, you know, one wave CS differential we mentioned at some point has now been erased by Violet as they're trading back and forth. So it is tough, right? Because when the style of Vulcan has so much been about leaving lane, putting yourself in a position where you are locked into the 2v2 ideally as the Nami is definitely a departure from how Cloud9 have played before.
I mean, they're still playing it stylistically like this is any other roaming champion. We saw him try and go mid where he got picked off. He had followed them up top for that dive onto Vizicsacsi. So, you know, he is still moving around the map. It's just understandable too, especially given the fact that they're not dominating bot lane. I think it would feel worse if you had this like 2v2 power lane,
right?
And then you're just sacking your priority to go do that instead of like punishing turret plays or something. But given that the lane's going badly already, and they're not really controlling it, I can understand being like, all right, let me get out of the lane and actually try and affect the map a little bit more.
And you know Aladoric's going to get out there, so Vulcan does maybe feel some pressure to move out as well. Makes sense. Maybe if they didn't get first blooded, it'd be a different story, but that was what happened. Violet and Aladoric continuing to look good, as Blaber is going to go ahead and donate this blue buff over to Perkz. Level 6 already for Blaber, actually been farming very nicely. And there's an exhaust for the bubble's going to miss, but Zven still firing back. He'll be burnt out by Violet as a result. But Vulcan looking a little vulnerable perhaps, and Babip is going to make sure that if C9 want to extend again, this could be a kill for them.
Yeah, and we see the rest of Peace roaming down. C9's bot lane already chunked out. Here they go.
Run more in, and unfortunately that made his telegraphic great bubble there out of Vulcan, and does stop Tally in his tracks.
Yeah, but nice trade overall for Peace's bot lane. They trade the exhaust on Zven for the heal on Violet, and some nice footwork by Violet to avoid the bubble that was coming in while slowed by the exhaust. So well done. They hit their 6s now before C9's bot lane. I expect to see a flash engage by the Rakan if they ever show their face in lane, and maybe they can 100-0 them.
Well, it looks like Wave's pushing towards Chachi, so he should be fine here. Just going to have to kind of bear the brunt of this harass out of Fudge. Blaber's doing the Rift Herald as well, so Chachi will absolutely know not to play too silly as soon as he gets the message that it's gone down, which he will now. But I guess at the end of that play, kind of trading the first Dragon for the Rift Herald, just a little bit more delayed. Good stun there out of Perkz, but no follow-up there onto Tally.
Yep, Perkz shadowing topside to support Blaber in case he needs to move into the river. Not the case. Just going to collect that. The question for me now is, where does Blaber want to use this Rift Herald? Do you try and snowball Fudge and put more eggs in the top carry Wukong basket? Do you use it to try and get some gold into Sven's pocket to try and stabilize, or maybe Perkz as well as kind of the lone AP threat? You know, he has a lot of choices, and I am very curious where he chooses to go with it. I have a slight preference towards probably top or mid. Bot lane at this point, I'm like, all right, you picked the Lucian to win early. You didn't win early. Good luck.
Well, I think that fits both the context of this game and the general C9 game plan. So I think you're probably right on the solo landers there. The culling, though, is just going to be flown out there by Zven for the harass, but it kind of loses the trade at the end of it all. And Perkz doesn't have bullet time, so can't fire back, which is probably why Zven ripped it off. But, you know, just AD's trading ultis,
yeah,
just like mid lane.
With
we
the
just use
Nami,
them sometimes.
With the Nami, you know, you're okay losing trades a little bit. I will say, Peace is playing these trades pretty well and making sure that they actually need multiple Ws by the Nami to actually top Sven back off. But you know, that is kind of how you play the Lucian Nami lane. You're down to take slightly losing trades to get pressure. And here we go. Everyone collapsing mid to get that
Great
off.
stun. Tally gonna have to flash. Ulti comes in out of Perkz, but not enough damage there. Ryze relatively robust there, but not going to be able to survive this incoming Herald. That's a good amount of plate gold share between 4 of C9. Unfortunately, not enough to convert for the tower, but I would say still a successful Herald there for Blaber.
Yeah, nice usage of it. Like you said, you do want to drop that turret to get a little bit more priority against the Ryze. If you can break his turret early on, and if Perkz is strong enough and feels safe enough to walk forward and get the extra push of distance that you can get with the turret down, that does make it much harder for the Ryze to get unlocked and start going top to Chachi or bot to the Rakan to try and set up more kills. So nice that they're able to get the chip turret down, and hopefully they finish it off soon.
Looks like Fudge trading back in with Chachi now. Was backed off a little, but I think maybe now feels like Chachi is likely not in the area, and actually Blaber's in the area, so it makes it a lot easier to play aggressive. Ooh, sneaking into the brush here. Blaber's going to go over a wall, but it's not going to matter. Kick into Wukong ulti, and Chachi's got the flash for that. Doesn't matter, doesn't use it, and Blaber gets the kill.
I was just about to say the timing window, they missed when the flash was down, but when your execution's that clean, it doesn't even matter. Chachi respects it, goes, okay, that was good. I'll just take that death and hold my flash.
Well, alley-oop there into the waiting arms of Fudge, as Blaber is the one to collect the gold and the gold drinker. Nice and early here out of Blaber. Babip, though, once again, it feels like a repeat of the first dragon. See pressure top, will go dragon.
Yep. Cloud9 are moving down this time, though. They have a little bit faster rotation. They are trying to work their way into the river. As a 3-man, they might try and contest this, but just a little too slow.
Yeah, had the Nami wave. Maybe Perkz are getting in there as well. Had tools, but not the time to get in and try and make something happen. We've been blessed with Cloud Soul for our first game. Cloud9 fans should be happy. It's their mascot.
Is that official?
I'm not going to get too in the weeds, but I did once try and correlate Cloud9 wins to Cloud Souls because I felt like they got an unusually large amount of Cloud Souls in their games, and I believe that is true. Well, but I don't have the numbers.
This summer in NALCS, we just had an insane amount of Cloud Souls in general. I remember I was tweeting about that. It was on Reddit for a little bit. But yeah, I think the Cloud Dragon doesn't feel too bad to be stacking up against. You know, it is strong in this team comp, I think, to have what will probably be a little bit more macro focus of a game plan with these pickoffs with the Ryze and stuff that we're talking about. The fact that Tally is doing quite well means that he can become enough of a threat to go 1-3-1. You know, you'll probably be facing up against the Wukong, and I think a lot of that will be about who gets further ahead, because at the same time Fudge is also doing quite well, and who ends up winning that 1v1. I'd have to see it play out. At that point, it would really depend on items, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, Syndra finished a Fudge, but Tally likely not too far away. Stun is nice there for Perkz. Tally is going to get hit up there, and Blaber now doing more than enough damage as Perkz gets the final Dark Sphere to grab the kill.
As much as that cannon creep tried to save Tally's life by blocking the Q by Blaber, not enough. And just too much damage right now. Finish him off. And there they go, breaking that mid turret, like I said. A very high priority objective for Cloud9 against the comp that Peace has.
Yeah, really nice actually, and it is nice to see Cloud9, you know, playing through the Syndra a little bit more. Syndra doesn't need the help, but often is very good if you get it. That is beautiful out of Aladoric though, as Violet is going to take out Zven.
Too easy there. Aladoric comes flying in from, I don't know, 6,000 units away, locks him up, and then Violet's QR combo is all it really takes to finish him off.
Nice and easy there, Zven. I would say holds on to both his summoners, but I think the reality is he just didn't get a chance to use either of them.
No.
So, has him at least for the next time, but doesn't live through that one. Gale Force now finished for the misfortune there as well, so you can expect similar looks to that one out of MF and Rakan. Aladoric, Violet has not shied away from being aggressive. In fact, again, that is kind of the calling card of Peace from their best of 5 yesterday.
Yeah, and with MF and Gale Force, you can do some nice auto Q Gale Force little combos to chunk people down quite heavily. I was watching Doggo do that a bunch of times yesterday in their series. Unfortunately, knocked out here earlier on in the day. But Violet will try and pull off the same sick MF combo.
All right, Fudge misses the initial spin. Spins on the rest of the wave, and I think any potential play that was brewing in the top lane has dissipated as Vulcan and Blaber are once again on the top half of the map. That leaves Zven here alongside Perkz though, but he's all the way back to the blue buff, which is quite a bit safer, but this is going to mean that Peace do get this tower that they've been looking for. It really is kind of mid lane versus bottom lane right now. Peace have put a lot of attention down here since getting that first blood, which makes sense. But Cloud9 looking to collapse here. This blue buff steal might be a little bit greedy, but Peace should be able to get it. Can they get away with it is the big question. There's Babip with the smite, but Blaber lining up that Q does find it, but no follow-up there.
A little dicey. Peace had waited a moment on trying to find a pick-off instead of just going straight for the buff steal. You know, that was a nice call-out by Babip to try and land the W onto Blaber, or excuse me, Zven, and maybe get a free kill off that, but that did delay it and made C9 have a little bit enough time to come down and contest, but they sneak out with the blue buff just fine, finish off the bot lane turret. They reset on the map now, next dragon in a minute about, and so you can expect them to start focusing on getting this vision control down on the bot side. Right now it is heavily dominated by Cloud9. They're going to want to get a lot of that. And maybe Cloud9 fight this, or they might continue to try and go top and finish off that next outer turret.
Yeah.
Or they're just going Rift Herald right now.
Ooh, Touch actually starting it up. So I like this. Trying to take this Herald maybe before everyone's set up for it. I mean, they've still got time to go back to the Dragon if they don't lose too much time here, but Blaber might be looking for a steal. TP for Cloud9 means they're committing for a fight. That's Fudge on a nice flank ward. Stun lands in onto Babip. That'll take a kill on my screen, but can they finish it up? Babip pops the ulti. Q's gonna miss. He dodges everything. Babip somehow maybe gonna get his way out of there as Aladoric tries to come back through. Tidal Wave there's gonna cancel the MF ulti, but they've gotten away with it. Blaber can't find anything.
Yeah, it's a robbery by Peace there. I think C9 was probably having a similar read to me. It's like, okay, we're going Dragon, and Peace find a window to start that off. They start getting a lot of the damage down onto it. C9 react. I mean, they did have Fudge in the bot lane. I think potentially to be prepared for that TP play, but the rest of the Cloud9 was just not in position quite yet.
And Tally's out of there. Just going straight back to the bottom wave. I think they've accepted at this point that they cannot get back to the Dragon, although Cloud9 gonna start it up soon. Yeah, Peace just giving it up. You can see plenty of players topside not interested in getting extra greedy for this objective after they got the other one, but nice for them to get away with that one, let's call it.
Yeah, that could have gone a lot worse. Yeah. They get out, they get the Rift Herald charge, dropping it in top lane, try and get some of this gold in their pocket. I would say that they have a little bit better scaling in air quotes, tentatively, as we see Perkz trying to get a little bit of chunk here. You know, they have the potential 1-3-1 setup if they get really far ahead, or a 4-1 where you just split the Ryze. Babip, whoa, buddy.
Goodness, that damage is big. One last Dark Spear is enough. Perkz lines it up and knocks down Babip.
Wow, I thought in the 1v3 I was safe to be making a larger point, but Perkz shows that Babip has to be careful. They also knew his ult was on cooldown from the top lane situation. of getting out of the Rift Herald, so Perkz could use his full combo and finish him off.
Good TP. Ooh, counter TP there from Cloud9. Zven down here as well. Tally the target. Blaber getting in there. Gets rooted up by Tally though, but Chachi is going to get kicked away. And now Zven grabs that kill. Looking for the second is Fudge. Trying to spin it onto Vizicsacsi. He spins back in, but he goes Mega just in time. Violet swoops in to take down Fudge, and Zven is awfully low. And Violet flash Q's in there to grab that kill. Dodges the tidal. Can't dodge the bubble though. Gets stunned and shut down by Perkz. As C9 find an extra.
Both teams trading emotes and kills in the bot lane there. Started out looking really good for Cloud9, but Chachi with some nice footwork actually able to stay alive, and just long enough for the rest of Peace to collapse. I think that still ends up being a 2-for-2 total, keeping the kills tied at 7-7.
And the gold is pretty similar as well. Cloud9 have held on to this small lead, but the gold has not ballooned in much of a way, really. I think at one point Cloud9 were up 1,000+ gold, but there's been so much back and forth that lead has changed hands over the course of this almost 20 minutes. Perkz definitely the big winner as far as total gold goes. You can see it, full 1-on-1, including basically a solo kill. That makes sense, but let's watch this bottom side play because Blaber and Fudge reunited once again.
Yeah, starts out clean enough. Tally kites out decently well using the minions to block some of this. Takes a little bit longer to finish him off. Blaber just kicks Chachi away, and then Fudge here trying to get on top of him. It's funny, the clone knockup still lands on Chachi, but he's charged up enough of his Mega to be able to survive, get that extra HP. Ults just the clone. Then Violet gets a little overeager, gets the kill back, starts flashing the emote, but Vulcan's not going to let him get away with that one. Flash bubble to finish him off.
Yeah, a lot of cooldowns there. Nice aim there for Vulcan there. Not always the Nami play you see, but it's a fun one to watch when it happens. Mid lane though, currently under fire here by Peace. If Perkz is the big winner of this early game, is definitely Violet being the jackpot holder here. As Tidal Wave's not going to connect now. Babip goes back in. Violet just shreds the Nami to pieces.
I mean, Violet's having a great game right now. People are just feeling like they're losing track of him. It shows up there on this red buff invade. I don't know how many people Cloud9 thought were in there, but they didn't have any wards in the river, so they probably just thought they were dealing with a 1 or 2 man invade, but off their mid priority, Peace had rotated Violet in there. With the ultimate down, it's very easy to get on top of the Nami.
Yeah, with, you know, Gale Force, with Strut, with Cloud Rift, Violet's just zooming between all these lanes with 2 items already finished, so Perkz definitely under fire here. Gonna have to be careful, is trying to check this Fog of War, but Peace are gonna be sneaky about it. Blaber is gonna find one. Oh, misses that slow. Aladoric though gonna bounce back because the rest of C9 are coming in hot, but Tally able to finish off that tower and walk away with it.
Little dicey there for a moment. Wasn't sure if Peace are going to go on that play or not. Show some restraint for what feels like the first time this game from either team, to be clear. And they just grab that turret and back out. But, I mean, good call. They're now 1,000 gold in the lead. You talked about how it was slightly in C9's favor just a couple minutes ago, but off the bot lane play, that invade, the Rift Herald usage, now with their own gold lead.
All right, even the, you know, the top lane pressure that Cloud9 did have is kind of alleviated. Definitely feels like Fudge and Chachi will be more about, you know, the impact they can have with their ultimates in team fights, rather than, you know, straight up outplaying the other person in some sort of 1v1 split push situation.
And right now, there's 2 clear threats for each team. For Perkz, he's 4-1-1. The Syndra has the ability to one-shot basically anybody on the enemy team, as long as he gets a little bit of help for setup. For Violet, obviously, absolutely monstrous at 6-2-0. If he can land a nice ultimate, or even like we just said, with some of these auto attack combinations, being able to assassinate, once again, a lot of squishy targets on Cloud9's side. I mean, both teams have a lot of engaged tools. They both have one huge threat, and I think a lot of this will come down to the 5v5s and who can pull this off, because neither of the 1-3-1s on Peace's side have really turned online and can get much done. So you're looking at like protect the MF kind of situation here, and buying space for her to land big ultimates.
And I love that conveniently, both of those players also are the only ones with stopwatches, which makes sense. They're like the pieces you need to protect.
The excess money.
Yeah, I mean, that's true too. They do, you know, got the influx of cash coming in. So can afford the luxury here, which they'll need for this upcoming dragon fight in 15 seconds. Peace still looking for that quick soul point, even though Cloud9 did put a bump in that road. But Fight's lining up, Fudge going in, Babip's the target, kicks him out with the ulti, has to flash a tidal wave, and still we go in. Blaber found that Q to connect, is chasing in on it. As the rest of the team goes through, Fudge finds the second spin of the ulti, and Zven is going to pop the culling, and Violet just can't get in right yet. So 1 kill for Cloud9 as Zven gets massively chunked by Tally.
Yeah, Chachi's trying to build his Mega Gnar here. Doesn't have enough to force right now. Good to go.
Very nice. Mega Gnar, not enough. There's the ulti out of Violet, but it can't quite connect as Perkz unstoppable. Blaber still going. Every Q is going in, and finally, oh, just barely doesn't get punished for that one.
Oh, Bit dicey there, but with the Nami heals and the shield from a safeguard, able to stay alive. Cloud9 find 2 kills, and will be able to grab the dragon on the tail end of that fight. He's just not quite set up for that dragon. I think Cloud9 were intelligent about just forcing the fight, while Tally and Vizicsacsi were split away from the 3-man. So good job by Cloud9 there, pouncing on their opportunity.
Yep, recognizing the angle, goes straight for it. Blaber just charges in like a screen and a half away from his team, and thankfully they're able to follow it up as Perkz is investing in his future. That 9-stack Dark Seal has turned into a 9-stack Magi's.
Oh, we've had some not great Magi's usage by Perkz, having a very empty book at times. And Perkz as a whole has had a bit of an up and down playing so far. The Zoe game left a lot to be desired for a lot of people. And looking like game 1 here is a nice bounce back, but I think understandably a lot of people have been watching Perkz with a more critical eye than most players, not just in this tournament, but all year long with the hype that came with him coming to North America. There was a lot of expectations put on him. Maybe an unfair amount at points in time. The when are we going to hold Perkz accountable Reddit thread that showed up towards the end of the regular season, I think it was. So I do understand why there is this extra scrutiny on him, but he is performing very well this game. Here's what I was talking about. You see there's a 3-man split here where the rest of Peace is not yet grouped up together, and so Cloud9 just goes, okay, we're going to jump on them immediately before any TPs can come through. We'll finish somebody off, and with Babip down, that's kind of your key frontline member if Chachi's not there with his Mega Gnar form. And so from here, there's not really much of a way for them to answer back. Chachi is trying to get them here, but just gets picked off.
Nice and cinematic here for the X replay as Violet's ulti doesn't quite connect. Blaber once again goes back in. I thought this one was just giving one back, but doesn't give his life over despite getting, you know, hit by every carry. Nice stuff for Perkz. Ooh. Into the tidal wave. Blaber again is tagged up Babip. Here's the TP through. Blaber going to go for it. Gets charmed up though, and that is not enough somehow. The Gore Drinker keeping him alive along top of the shields as Zven is able to take down Tally. Backside Chachi with a 3-man ulti is nice, but Chachi too low as the shutdown comes in for Fudge. Violet will slay Blaber in the meantime, but Babip now a little too low. Vizicsacsi also somehow weaseled his way out of that play, but Fudge is diving every tower. Babip making it look real nice, but Perkz with the clean stopwatch as Fudge will collect the double at the end of it for the ace.
5 for 1 ace, excuse me. Blaber the only one to drop, but I don't think they need him to turn onto the Baron. Cloud9 punish that slight overextension by Peace yet again. Looking like they're getting pretty safe in this game now with the Baron buff in their pocket most likely.
And Perkz definitely, you know, protecting the stacks. Does have 11 now, so we'll at least have an extra if he does die. TP coming in. Perhaps ambitious out of Tally, but Ryze isn't bad. Everyone's pretty low. There's the flash kill for the first one. And now the Everfrost is down. He's gotten 2. Tally is going to go down. Fudge will get the final nail in the coffin, smacking him in the back of the head with a stop. But hey, that stopped the Baron.
Stopped the Baron and 2 for 1. So a trade up as well as saving the game potentially for Peace here. I feel like if that dropped, it would have been a bit of a death knell for them. So much standing gold still on the map. Only 1 turret down in C9's favor versus the 4 for Peace, who are still behind in gold. So a lot of gold will be flying in their pockets if Cloud9 grab that one. Here you see it's just a attempt at a pickoff, and then they're in full retreat mode. There's a deep ward that's perfect for Fudge to find the angle onto Violet. We were talking about how important Violet is, keeping him alive, protecting him, but Cloud9 are the ones who are able to land on top of him and get that assassination, so Violet could never really get a safe ultimate off. And without Violet able to DPS in this fight, it was just not close at all. For the most part, they just chased down from here. I like this turn by Babip. Almost finished Perkz off. Like you called out earlier, forwarding the stopwatch and then Fudge. Good target selection, realizing that, hey, I can just flat fall up here. Hold on, not done yet.
Oh, Fudge going into Vizicsacsi. Mega Gnar is not going to be enough to survive this. Does get stunned by the Syndra Scout of the Week at the end of it all. And Fudge now dominating. Picks up kill number 6.
I don't know what Chachi was doing there. The rest of his team was resetting on the map. He was pushed up somewhere in mid lane. Coming out of the replay in a bit of an awful position now. And next dragon in a minute. I don't know if C9 want to force onto the Baron again and just keep trying to find these pickoffs, because they do have a very good pick team.
Zven, ooh, getting in there. Nice and aggressive. Tally, though, firing back. Everfrost out's going to force the flash. Tally, now they're going to take down Vulcan. This Ryze is possessed. Violet takes down Zven. Realmwalk going to try and pick off Vulcan, but Vulcan now running towards the safety of the Cloud Rift. Does speed away to the bottom side of the map.
Okay, who's paying who there? Zven getting really over-aggressive, just trying to find people in that little corridor, not knowing that the rest of Peace was on their way. Did lose his flash, died got Zven or Vulcan to lose his flash as well, and so that's going to make it a lot harder for them to team fight from here. A lot of flashes down from both teams with this Cloud Dragon coming up. C9 sacking that to go get some Baron pressure.
Yeah, Zven will be back up in time for the Dragon. Potentially, it's going to spawn about when he's up, so he's still going to have to walk over. So it will be a temporary 5v4 for Peace, and looks like Cloud9, as you said, aren't even going to go for it. Just going to go ahead and give Soul Point away. It's not the Soul itself, so perhaps not something you need to fight for. And at least choosing to set up early for the next objective, which is going to be that Baron, like you said.
And Tally, just a really nice punish there. I mean, we were talking about this Ryze kind of being out of the game. He doesn't look like that much of a threat, but he's still showing in team fight situations he's quite competent. The TP into the Baron to save that one, and then the punish onto Zven, set up by him in particular. So Tally becoming a bit of a force himself this game, emerging as the second threat, where Fudge, with that flank, has absolutely rocketed up the scoreboard. 6-1 and 4 now, 2 items complete. Both teams trying to get their second threat online, it feels like. Who's going to help the main carry of Violet and Perkz?
Yeah, unfortunately, Tally has risen up to the occasion alongside Violet. Violet does now have IE alongside some components of item number 4. So it's definitely feeling good there. But Zven trailing behind still. I mean, it makes sense given how the matchups kind of happened throughout this game. But, it's Perkz and Fudge the ones going to have to do the heavy lifting here in the later half of this mid-game. As we line up for, almost 30 minutes through. Definitely looking at the first Baron now as being a very important objective, especially between Dragon spawns. So we've got 4 minutes, definitely more than enough time to go ahead and try and take this objective.
Yeah, it was cool seeing those gold numbers there. Violet and Perkz, both extremely close. They're north of 12K, I think both closing in on 13. And then the second threats as well around 11K. So you can see how the gold allocation is actually making this a pretty close game with multiple people having carry threat. And like you're saying, I feel like it's just going to come down to a team fight. There's needs to be better setup on Peace's side. That last Dragon attempt, that was like kind of the last really set team fight that we really had, was one where they just need to get Chachi and Tally together. I think you want to fight front to back for the most part. If Chachi can build a fat Mega Gnar ult, that's great, but...
Zven the one to face check there. Babip going to try and punish it, but there's the charm in onto Blaber. Goes into stasis, but I don't know if he can really get away. It does have teammates, flashes off, safeguards away, and now the stun into Babip out of Zven. He goes back in for the calling. Perkz sets it up for Zven there, and he's able to knock it down after a very loose-looking engage, as Perkz is still looking for stuns, but not going to land them. But Zven is playing with fire today, let's put it that way.
Both AD carries are playing engagers in that fight, just auto-attacking each other down, and the rest of their team's like, okay, I guess we're fighting now. Unfortunately, for Peace, they could not find the cleanup kill, whereas C9 barely able to get it. Blaber almost got himself killed as well, but was able to flash safeguard out of there, whereas Babip on Zhao does not quite have as many defensive tools and gets caught out.
Chachi again gets stunned, bubble. Perkz does have ulti, but it's going to be a lot to get through. Actually lets it rip it. Mega Gnar quite a bit tankier than Mini Gnar, so Chachi will live through the combo.
Yeah, Chachi again. I think there's been a number of times in this tournament you can tell that he is a substitute and is on different pages. Here we see that fight again. You see both AD carries face checking, trading autos, getting down pretty low. Both junglers try and finish the kills off. From here, Babip probably, he just keeps walking forward where the rest of the team is oh, it's just the stun actually that sets him up. Can't blame him. Syndra over the wall. Everyone's been there before. Just no way out. And maybe Violet could have worked in an auto attack, cancel his ult early, but he was so low, he was scared to walk up to Blaber and have Blaber just suicide kill himself to finish off the Violet, so backed off there.
Well, the Winions put in some work there on top side. Perkz and Chachi once again, but there is Nami behind this play as well. Perkz is level 17, by the way. That is currently the highest in the game, 5-1 and 4, with 700 extra gold, and most importantly, still keeping hold of that book.
True.
15 pages now.
Doing a lot better with it this time, more responsible with his library card. And like you said with the levels, Tally does match him at 17 now, both top laners at 16. The big one is Violet, can he get 16? Adds a lot. As an AD carry, a lot of times for AD carries, level 16 is like, well, whatever, I'm an auto attacker, but does matter a lot for the MF here. So gonna hope they can get that one onto him before the dragon spawns. I don't know how far away he is. He is insanely fed, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was close.
See, this wave not gonna be enough. It does quickly dispatch of that. 40 seconds is set up for what could be the Dragon Soul here for Peace. It's been a very back and forth affair. Cloud9 still ahead in gold, but really not by much. 32.5 minutes through, 2,500 gold up or so is not a big lead. Definitely has been way more about, positioning and execution, and who is more far forward in some cases. Everyone is very willing to engage. Even Blaber has almost felt like the primary engage for a C9. Not in the sense that he's forcing the big engagement, but he is first to go in a lot of cases. By the way, this is one of those examples. Into the tidal wave we go. Zven has to get in the arena to have to fight here, and now Fudge is going to flash through Babip, protected in the little circle of his ulti, but Aladoric not so lucky, as Fudge now going to spin through and try and finish off the rest of Pete. Vizicsacsi does transform, but Blaber tags him, and he's going to get bagged up by Fudge, as Zven takes out Tally, and it's only Violet left alive.
Cloud9 pulled the trigger on that fight. Blaber flying in there and just kicks Babip in, and then Babip's stuck a little unsure what to do. He drops his ultimate, and then does he try and run out? Does he try and force the fight? Decides to go in. Aladoric is on the same page, but unfortunately whiffs his engage, and from there, it's just a disaster of a team fight.
Now Cloud9 are going for the inhibitor. That is positioning to end the game. Aladoric up in 3 seconds, but they're going to go for it here. Cloud9 are going to look for it. Flash force there out of Perkz, and they're just going to get all the towers. The Nexus now exposed. It's the bot lane versus the world here. Cloud9 don't need the Dragon Soul, don't need the Baron, just end the game.
Yeah, clean fight by Cloud9 in the middle of the map after getting so much work done on the turrets. It's an easy push afterwards. Dicey early game for Cloud9. Peace doing incredible, getting a lot of leads. It was back and forth the entire time, but in the tail end, it was a number of team fights in a row that Cloud9 were kind of getting the better of in set team fight situations. And from there, they're able to grab the first game of the series. Yeah,
not the cleanest, but not too bad. As Cloud9 definitely feel happy with their mid-game execution. Again, I said it, like, it felt like Blaber was the primary engage, which was a bit funny, but he was just consistently starting plays so that Fudge could find the time to get in there and finish them.
And it made sense, too, given that most of the time the Wukong was looking for flanking ultimates and TPs and stuff. You don't have a engaged support in Vulcan where they normally do. So in this case, you know, it was on Blaber to start these fights, and he did a good job kicking them off, literally.
Yeah, it's very curious to see kind of how the series develops. It's been fun. I don't know, like, it's so funny that we set up the bottom lane 2v2 thing, and they instantly died at level 1 again. Because, like, we talked about it, right? Vulcan does leave the lane well, and even in that game, he was leaving quite a significant amount of the time. The difference is that, like, they always fight early on, so that Zven can feel like he has enough advantage to go for it. And for some reason, in the last few games we've seen, level 1 has just not looked very good in the 2v2.
Yeah, I think bot lane will be where I want to see the most. I'll be watching with the most interest for the next game, seeing if they are able to stabilize for C9 or if this is going to be a continued power point on the map for Peace.
Well, definitely a fun one to kick things off. We are going to go to a break, but as we go, make sure to check out Legends Never Die on the Spotify playlist. It's quite a banger.
Legends never die when the world is calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you play for reaching greatness, relentless you survive.
Die.
Welcome back, everybody, to the State Farm Analyst Desk, where Cloud9 started the series with a win after a close-fought Game 1, at least the early game. But in the end, C9's class shone through. Raz, were you sweating a little bit?
A lot. That's my answer. Bot lane, it was a violent kingdom in the early game, so I was sweating. I was like, not again.
I mean, that's a good point. Let's start by looking at the draft. Always very, very interesting, especially in the Game 1 of what could possibly be a full-blown out best of 5. And we didn't see too much, I want to say, out of the ordinary, right, Goldberg?
No, I feel like this is just very standard meta draft, at least coming into what we've seen throughout this entire World Championship. But I think it's also the priority we get to see. Having that Lucian Nami means that you want your bot lane to come ahead in the 2v2. It's just kind of not what happened, right? But you also still have the same agency we see on some of the strong solo laners on Cloud9. The fact that Perkz get to dictate so much of the game on a champion like Syndra, and the fact that you get to have Fudge on the Wukong into the Gnar matchup that can be so favorable for you still shows once we reach that mid game.
And this will be a good question for what will happen for the rest of Worlds, but also for the series, is that Nami pick like you mentioned, right? Because whenever mage supports comes into the meta, and if you don't execute on it, if you make one error, you get snowballed behind, especially in Leona, and in this case, Rakan type meta. So I wonder if teams are willing to play something that's safe, allows you to make mistakes, because there was one mistake in the level 1, and it felt so bad for Vulcan. He kept falling behind at that point because every single time he was caught on a ward, he was immediately punished.
Yeah, I want to take a look at the early kills rather from Peace, because Violet impressed me so much. I think Aladoric as well. Just their willingness to send it, right? And here, the fact that they identify that they actually have the upper hand in this level 1 exchange.
It definitely feels like that we finally got to see the bot lane we saw at the LCO from Peace this time around, because to quote-unquote, there was like these trash talk interviews they had between the players. And in this interview, Pentanet did acknowledge that the only one who was willing to send it, at least from their point of view, was the bot lane of Peace. And I'm glad we got to see that Australian aggression in the early game
Oh,
from the bot lane.
absolutely. And I think for Peace in general, then they identified, okay, we actually have openings to keep going here. We're in fact gonna send everyone down bot to try and capitalize on that. But as we set up our next replay, Raz, it is of course C9 that identified, well, now we know where to go as well, and we're gonna stop the bleeding.
Yes, and so at least this is the positive for Cloud9, is that they can look to respond. I mean, immediately after the bot lane dive, they go top lane and get a response play. In this specific dive, this was good on them to make a play happen. I think they overdive, of course, going for a Gnar as he's reaching Gnar bar. Good for Vizicsacsi to buy time for Violet to come back in, and it turns into a scrappy game. But the message for me for Cloud9 was that even though they fell behind in the bot side of the map, it was still Fudge and Perkz that had an astronomically good game here. So Blaber was able to make it work, head towards top side a little bit more, and work with Fudge, who actually had the counter matchup working for him. Vizicsacsi was falling behind, and so this is the type of thing you want to see from Cloud9 when they're behind.
Oh yeah, in your experience and from what we've seen from Cloud9 when it comes to summer in the LCS, are they generally good at coming back from slight deficits in the early game, or if there's one player on the other side that's fed?
I would say so. They're a playmaking team, and a lot of that comes to both Perkz and Blaber constantly being problem solvers, and at the same time, Fudge just being a damn consistent, strong top laner, right? And so if there's one consistent thing about Cloud9, is the fact that Fudge will have consistent games like these. So in the next few games, I think Peace has to have a realistic conversation about, hey, if we're giving Violet the resources, what are we going to be doing about top lane? I think there was one dive that happened top lane where it was a 3-man play that I think Vizicsacsi should have just completely gave minions for that one instead of dying there. And so, like, this is just a thing that they need to work on.
But I also think it's quite telling of what we've seen from Cloud9, historically speaking, or just like, not historically, but speaking from what we saw in this year's LCS. The early game from them wasn't the true strength that we usually saw from them. Like, quite often, they'd have quite bad objective taking, and they did this game as well, where they didn't really get the first 2 Drakes, they got the Herald. But it's once you reach that mid game, it's once you get these solo laners active, and they actually play around to each other combined, and they are on the same page, that's where Cloud9 gets to be really scary to me, me at least, and specifically Perkz, that on this Syndra does so well at positioning himself, finding the correct pacing in terms of where do I need to be in this fight, when do I throw my stun down, because so many of the times it was Blaber and Perkz who worked together to find that alley-oop play to really just find a shot down.
With that, I do have to go to a break. I know we still want to talk about a lot, but we still get another 2 games at least. Fantastic performance by Perkz in Game 1, and this is the fight for the final spot in the World's Group Stage, and the action continues in Game 2. Don't miss it.